This video is incredibly disingenuous. I've been following and keeping up with your videos for a couple of months now, but this whole thing threw me off. I did not know you do OF, and not recognizing the moral evil of this type of work is very short-sighted. Putting sexually suggestive content on Instagram while having the account open is evil. There's no filter for a child who runs into your account. Pause. Actually, there is. As far as I know, you have to be 18 plus and logged in to see my Instagram account, but thank you. Supporting and creating content for a website like OF, where the goal is to create parasocial relationships with vulnerable and a lot of the time married men, is evil. Don't tell me this is not a predatory goal, because without the parasocial aspect of OF, men would just consume regular porn. I do not judge you for using your freedom to expose your body and make money like that. More power to you.
You're like the most judgmental person I know.
But you should have recognized the evil that you propagate for the sake of capital gain, or at least make a concession that you would have a cap on how much money you would like to gain and continue making content, even if it means only making video essays for free if body exposure is only worth it for money gain.
That's either stupid or vicious.
You jumped the gun on this video and should have visited your own moral failing before posting something like this. I wonder how good you would be if tomorrow any of the platform algorithms you make content for decided to push you, and in 1 year you even became a millionaire. Would you be a morally good person? Would you self-police and limit the way revenue flows into your pocket? The super thanks is simply to drive the point home. Additionally, if this moral failing of yours is not recognized and addressed in your next video, I will stop consuming your content due to the hypocrisy. Congratulations, here's your video, and happy Pride Month to all of my LGBTQIA pluses. I'm happy to have you here. If you guys don't know who I am, my name is Brittany, or Bert, whatever you're comfortable calling me. I've been naked on the internet before you got paid for it. I've also been naked in public, protesting at parades and or celebrating the fact that the body is not meant to be judged by whether or not it has clothes on or not. And I've participated in activities that most people wouldn't even know is happening in their own cities.
An emergency World Naked Bike Ride. The World Naked Bike Ride usually happens every summer. People bike in the buff to protest pollution from other forms of transportation and call attention to cyclist safety. In a new post on Instagram, organizers say they are getting ready to ride for another cause, responding to what they call the militarization of our city.
To Portland, Oregon now, still plenty of protesters there again this week, rallying, as we've been telling you, against the Trump administration's decision to try and deploy federal troops there.
So demonstrators pedaled along the streets wearing almost nothing in an emergency edition of the annual World Naked Bike Ride. Well, the bike ride is an annual tradition, usually taking place in the summer, but organizers hastily put together another nude ride to speak out against attempts to mobilize troops to quell protests.
The riders crossed the city to the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement building. And while some demonstrators were naked, others are wearing animal costumes just outside the facility, as you see right there.
There you go. Right now, the city is awaiting the ruling on whether President Trump can send troops there. And it comes after a judge paused the deployment on October 5th.
But fun fact, you've probably been to a place or lived in a place where there's naked bike parades, solstice parades, or even queer events where people can be clothed or not. And just so you know, and just so it's clear, I make commentary content, giving my opinion and sharing my worldview. You don't have to watch. I don't script these videos. I just sit at my computer and I record. Literally, I know a lot of you have said that I've scripted my videos, and even over on my stream channel, many thought this channel was scripted. It's not, girlies. There are no notes. I am literally just sitting and talking. The truth is, I do post nude content on OnlyFans. I do post 18 plus content on OnlyFans. To be honest with you, I think the reason that I post on OnlyFans is the same reason I posted on Tumblr for free all those years ago. It's the reason after I left my conservative bubble that I went and explored myself and learned to have a relationship with my body outside of judgment. I want to be free. I want to be free to be who I am and to express who I am. I have this very specific goal of being a very naked old person on the internet. And especially as I move into my gender deconstruction era of my life, and I identify less and less with being, quote, a woman every day, even though I know I'm femme and I present women in the world. The truth is that our bodies need to be deconstructed. Our relationship with nudity and sex needs to be deconstructed. We need to recognize that we're animals on a planet and we were born free and born naked. I'm not advocating for people to be naked all the time, because we also like to be fashionable.
Some mammals say the naturalist life is weird, but you know what I say is weird? Clothes on animals.
But I am going to make the argument that if you deconstruct and dismantle capitalism, human beings will still want to be naked, and they deserve to be paid for their labor. Obviously, this topic is very layered because there are survival sex workers in the world who deserve freedom, and they don't have access to the same choices that I do every day.
You know, we grow up holding back and not saying anything because these are foster parents and these are people that are supposed to care for us, and if they abuse us, so we grow up full of anger and rage and turn to drugs and turn to the streets. I mean, turning to the streets is a lot less painful than living in residential school and whatnot.
I don't think that there are any Aboriginal any First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people in Canada that aren't impacted by that. So when we look at the women who are on the streets, it's impossible to separate their current experience from their historical context of their lives.
We need to talk about how the porn industry is incredibly patriarchal and incredibly abusive.
Pornography really is pretty ubiquitous, and where young people do have, I say really ubiquitous, I think it's always important to remember that only about 50% of the world's population is online. So we're never actually talking, that's an important thing to remember. I think arguably it's the case that young people now are much more formed by pornography than they used to be historically. Certainly when I talk to my students, they feel that the sexual script available to them was very much one written by porn. But I should say it's mainstream porn that they're talking about, because there's a huge amount of queer, independent, feminist porn that does not recycle very narrow, boring tropes of just male domination, female submission. The thing is, most of that porn isn't free. It's certainly not available on something like Pornhub. The story about 21st century pornography is a story about capitalism. It's about the domination of the internet by basically one company that has a monopoly and that uses mostly stolen content, right, to drive its traffic, has a very powerful algorithm whose function it is to bring different people's desires into conformity with each other. So if you write threesome, you're only going to get one kind of threesome, right? There's only going to be one distribution of the genders. And it's also really important to note that the existence of something like Pornhub has directly driven down the income of the women who work in porn, and it has also accelerated the rate at which they have to progress to more intensive, hardcore sex acts. So when we talk about 21st century porn, I think it's very important to name what kind of pornography worries us and what sort of pornography might be more promising or liberatory or emancipatory.
And we need to recognize that the human body is not meant to be judged based off of how much clothing it is wearing. So to this person who gave me $2 to tell me I was a bad person, I hear you. You probably do think I'm a bad person. But the truth is that you had to sit there and create this comment and post it and give me your hard-earned money just to tell me something that I've heard 1,000 times. Whether you like it or not, you trying to get me on a gotcha when I'm criticizing men in patriarchy benefiting from selling their soul and throwing people under the bus time and time again is not the same thing as a girly who's independently making money as a creative and doesn't even make 6 figures. I called out millionaire men in my last video, and I asked the question if you can be rich and moral. And the truth is, it's looking like no, but I'm not somebody who's rich. Even if I made $1 million tomorrow, that's still $8 to $50 million less than any of these other men are making. Some of these men make $2 million minimum a year.
I owed over $4 million. That was my estimated taxes.
Okay, so $4 million. So you probably make, after taxes, $68 million left after taxes.
More than that, probably. A lot more than that.
Issues that are not exactly advertiser friendly.
What are you, crazy?
I knew that I had to be a subscription-based model. The revenue structure on Twitch is they take a 25% cut of all the subscriptions. Those numbers go up, they go down. They've been fairly consistently at 50,000.
By our calculations, that's at least $200,000 a month and over $2 million a year.
This is the home that got me canceled for buying for myself and my family.
Why do you think that is?
I try to use the house or all these different controversies as a teachable moment. This is not a poverty cult at all. I pay my taxes. I advocate to pay higher taxes. I want every single person to be able to have a home that they own, that they can live in with their family.
I really like how Hassan said there that he wants everyone to have a house to live in. I love that idea. I'm just trying to point out that a lot of us don't have that. As somebody who's one of 10, trust me, my parents didn't have 10 houses to leave us. And my family's immigrants from Iraq, so as West Asians, even though we are family oriented, there are a lot of issues because of political and philosophical differences. So for the queer kids in the family, we're pretty much on our own.
You won the lottery to get into here. Do you feel like you just won the lottery in life?
Definitely.
Yeah,
Right.
most definitely. The friends of ours that are gay or in that case being seniors, they don't know where they're going to go.
A report finds nearly half of older same-sex couples applying for elder housing were subjected to discrimination. Stonewall House is a response to that, overseen by SAGE, a group that offers support for LGBTQ+ elders. Michael Adams is SAGE's CEO.
Many older people who are LGBTQ do not feel welcome and accepted where they live. In fact, often SAGE constituents will tell us that the place that they feel least safe and least welcome is where they live.
And we're going to say Stonewall. 1, 2, 3, Stonewall!
It's not just affordable housing. The community center at Stonewall House offers a wide range of programs, including painting.
And this is mine as well.
Barbara Abrams doesn't live here, but the 80-year-old does walk here 5 times a week, a mile each way, to be with fellow members of the LGBTQ+ community.
It creates family for me that I do not have. These people mean everything to me. When I come in, I'm received with love. And I just appreciate it so much.
The place is named after the Stonewall Uprising in 1969. That's when police raided a popular gay bar called the Stonewall Inn, and the community fought back. It was a turning point in the battle for LGBTQ+ rights.
What Stonewall represented was, you're not going to just shut us up. You're not going to make us be quiet.
The point I'm trying to make is that even the most well-intentioned people still benefit from structures of oppression. And people like myself, who tend to be the most targeted in those systems of oppression, though of course, because I'm a white West Asian, there's some privilege there, we aren't facing the same kind of struggles as these streamer bros.
And so the reason why I stopped showering and stopped bathing for like 3 months is that I had a skin problem where like my skin would flake off and it would be like really oily a lot, and it was like very bad. And so I figured that why am I even showering if it's just going to lead to the same problem?
That usually means it's dry, like you need to moisturize.
Exactly, and where does the moisture come from? Inside your body.
Yeah, it's what I do with
this it is a self-regulating machine.
Yeah, it's what I've been doing too with taking shits. I just don't wipe anymore because I'm like, I'm gonna just shit again.
That's
so
the Liver King strat. I like that.
Yeah, I just let it crust.
Ain't no way y'all were. Not y'all. He was talking about how men are more attractive than women, and this is a real conversation happening.
Well,
right
this
now.
is something that a man can do. A girl couldn't do that. That'd be gross.
And even if we're artists who do things for the love of the game, which I think ultimately is the point of this video, we still miss out because doing it for the love of the game does mean a pay cut. I'm glad that Hassan feels like he's working within his ethics, but just from my perspective, I couldn't engage in the way that he does content and still consider myself ethical.
I want to believe you're pathetic. This is how you're gonna end up in jail, bro. She's gonna be like, so tell me, Hassan, about all that cool stuff you were doing in Cuba. She's gonna have the fucking, she's gonna have the wire in her pussy.
Bro, that's so funny. That's what people are reclaiming because the subpoena came right after. The subpoena came right after she was here.
Hey, talk into my pussy about what kind of illegal stuff you did in Cuba.
Oh my god.
It's not to say that Hassan should share my ethics. It's to say that I have to be clear that we don't. And that is why I do believe that people like me will make less money under capitalism, white supremacy, and patriarchy because a lot of us aren't willing to do what it takes to, quote, make the big bucks, which I think is an indication that the system is broken because why should I have to be a bad person to make more money?
I have the best advice for women in business. Get your fucking ass up and work. It seems like nobody wants to work these days.
That's so true.
Who cares?
The time that I got really angry on a video was during Unis Honest when I punched a hole in the wall.
Mark, you got 913.
And yeah, we edited it around it and we edited it in a way that was like, oh, ha ha, funny, funny.
The president's expectancies, you know, his standards are really high. The stress got to me and I'm sorry.
That moment was not funny. In real life, when we were filming, like Ethan was about ready to leave because he was like, oh, there's no fucking way. Like it was just like, ooh, I don't know what the fuck is happening.
It's all right. I understand. Okay, cool. Your turn.
It's like, I don't know why. I was so angry because it was like right before we were doing the bike ride, totally fine. Something in the bike ride about what Ethan was doing was just annoying me, but he's annoyed me before, and that's totally fine.
I don't think you can hear me. Mark, you're breathing.
I will fucking kill you! But something about like my anger that I like usually like to keep under wraps just got tripped there. It had something to do with, if I like talked to a therapist about it, it was like to do with like my insecurities about athleticism that tie into like how I was in high school and like how I was looked down upon for certain athletic events, and it tied into like my inability to perform at the level that I expect. Lots of different things it ties into. But it could easily just be blamed like, oh, I snapped at that moment. It's like sometimes if you look at it in like reality, like that moment for me was not really something that should have led to that much anger, and yet it did. And there was evidence like, man, I should look into this.
I am in no way, shape, or form trying to shame Markiplier for admitting to having anger issues. I'm proud of him, if anything, for seeking help. I think what I'm trying to point out, what I was trying to say in my last video, is that there is a reward system on the internet, that the more unhealthy you are, the more you will be rewarded. I mean, look at Trisha Paytas. There is an argument to be made that those of us who did the work and went to therapy and got healthy, well, we are not going to make as much money. And I think that's the point I'm trying to make, that we live in a very unhealthy society, and being unhealthy is rewarded. Being healthy is boring, basically. And I'm saying that that is something we should pay attention to. There is a healthy way to do OnlyFans. There is a healthy way to do sex work. And I just think it's not monetarily rewarded in the way people think, but it's still fulfilling in many other ways. In case it's still not clear, I am trying to make the argument that whether or not you're a streamer or an OnlyFans creator, there are healthy ways to do it and unhealthy ways to do it. And the one that gets sensationalized and goes viral is often the unhealthy one. And so the question is, whose responsibility is it to be healthy? The audience to not encourage it in their creators, or the creators to not encourage it in their audience? And I think that's the point of the content that I make, is I'm trying not to sensationalize my life, though I certainly could. I'm trying to actually create things that I believe in and that I think are healthy. I understand that because of that, there will be a disadvantage for me when it comes to stability with my work. But I think that's most artists struggle with this, so I don't feel too unique in that. It's just something that I think we should talk about. One of my favorite examples of this is the Whatever podcast. I would never go on this podcast. Even though I do understand the way the podcast runs, it allows people who are on OF to go and guest, to be humiliated, and then to make a lot of money off of the same men that disparage them or call them names, to then go and sign up for their OnlyFans so they can make money. It's this weird relationship I don't want to have with my audience. Actually, for me, I really like the people who follow me on OnlyFans. They seem to be really respectful and lovely, very queer and art-oriented. So I am very lucky. I don't think I could deal with the typical audience of a person who makes adult content, because people are mean, and I don't want a mean audience. So I do take a pay cut for that reason, but I think for my mental health, it's worth it.
I'm his daughter, though. You know, I'm not just some stranger. He's like, you know what? If I want her in my life,
doesn't that make it worse? Like, wouldn't that make it worse?
Don't you have to accept your kids for who they are?
No.
What?
And
so what? No.
So wait. No,
guys, one mic at a time.
Are you
one
just
mic at a
saying
time.
that, like,
I'll let
let's
you
just
come
say,
in. Go ahead. I'll answer the question.
If you had a kid and they were doing OnlyFans, what, you just disown them because they made a bad decision
until they clean their life up. Yeah.
You're a bad parent.
Wow, that's
my
terrible.
family would
That's absolutely
my family would
terrible
100%
parenting.
disown me.
Okay, well then.
100%.
What about you're a bad kid?
No,
okay, we're allowed to make bad
guys, please.
I think a lot of these women are struggling under capitalism and patriarchy, and this is their only chance at survival. And I think that's why I focus on philosophy, because I think you can learn how to live instead of just survive, as long as you take a philosophical perspective about existing instead of trying to survive in capitalism through capitalism by being a quote capitalist, meaning that your life is centered around money versus ethics. Like, I prefer to center my life around ethics versus money.
You do OnlyFans as well. Do your parents know? Supportive, not supportive?
So my mom knows. I actually just told her about the OnlyFans. She's been known that I'm a dancer since I started. My stepdad knows I'm a dancer, but he doesn't really, he doesn't know about the OnlyFans, just because he has a pretty antiquated view on, you know, the internet's there forever and safety and stuff like that. So he doesn't really.
When you say antiquated view, what do you mean?
I think it's just a boomer / Gen X perspective that.
What perspective is that?
That you.
What is the antiquated perspective?
Yeah, that you shouldn't post that stuff on the internet.
Just like
or
conservative?
I guess that would be conservative.
And is that antiquated, or is that?
I mean, I would.
It's definitely more common amongst older populations of
Wait, so your parents, do they know that they said they know that you dance?
Her mom does. Yeah, so they both know that I dance. My mom knows that I do OnlyFans. Okay. My biological dad does not know either, as far as I'm aware.
And is your mom, is she supportive?
Yes, she's all about me getting my money.
She's all about you making your money. What about your dad?
Biological dad or stepdad?
Both.
Well, my stepdad also doesn't really care as long as I'm safe. That's like the main thing for him, and the same thing for my mom. But you know, he's also wants me to be self-sufficient and stuff like that. So that's like really their main concern is my self-sufficiency.
Couldn't you be self-sufficient though without?
It's a lot more difficult. So I did like, you know, as a young person, the only options that I have, you know, for a job is entry-level stuff, and then also like fast food work and stuff like that. I could work my way, you know, as a manager in a fast food restaurant, but that's really the highest up position that I could get.
So when this person says, what if you made $1 million? Oh, is that $1 million? And then you take out tax. So maybe I bring home $600,000 and then I buy one single house for one of my family members. And what about my other siblings? What about my siblings who might face being unhoused? Or what about my siblings who need medical care? Or if somebody gets cancer or Alzheimer's? And I don't make the kind of money that would guarantee safety for my family, especially in a country where there isn't universal health care like the US. So again, even if I made singular $1 million, which yes, would be life-changing, it still wouldn't guarantee retirement or security for my family. Versus somebody like Hassan Piker or any of the other streamer bros, they have an abundance of money. They are set for life for multiple generations. And so my criticism, I think, is fair. So this person coming into my chat and trying to shame me for surviving under capitalism, I hear the criticism. I just don't think it's valid. And I think it's coming from an incredibly bad faith place.
Palestine is liberated, then they can have this conversation internally. But right now, Western forces are allowing the death and destruction of this people to continue.
What do you think the odds are that after this stops happening, that the Palestinians are going to get together and say that it's okay to be gay?
I don't know, because I can't even imagine a world where this death and destruction isn't constant. But I would say that just like in the United States of America, you know, people inevitably evolved, inevitably fought back. And
what do you think? I've actually got a really good question.
An environment for queer liberation, even though to this day, there are still a shit ton of problems that especially trans people experience on a regular basis. A lot of people in his audience are going to go, wait, maybe Asmongold doesn't know what he's talking about. That's it. Because every single time that Asmongold and I have had conversations, right, back in the day, he looked like a toddler. I will admit, however, it did make me think, because of his openness to having any sort of conversation like this, I falsely was also duped. I was duped into thinking that maybe he is open-minded, maybe he's just like a little misguided or whatever. I did not think that he was just straightforward grifting to this degree.
This is actually a good faith position that Hassan has held for a while, even with Ethan Klein, that I too extended to many people in this space, but I'm no longer extending it, especially to men on the internet who aren't deconstructing patriarchy, and that has to include Hassan Piker. As much as I want to see people change, and I deeply believe they can, at the end of the day, it's 2026, and I'm still not seeing enough change from these people in positions of power who make more than enough money to take the time off to go to therapy and do the work and meditate. Instead, they're busy debating each other on the internet and making tons of money off of it, while the rest of us sit and wait for them to, quote, either lead us into liberation or, quote, use their positions of power to actually help us. Let's pause here. And I just want to say, obviously, I think I'm tired, as many people are, hearing their marginalization or struggle being used as a talking point in a debate between two millionaires who are literally making money off talking about our struggle. So it goes without saying, Free Palestine, Congo, Sudan, and more. And we have struggles in our communities that I just don't think these particular men are really going to understand deeply, or really invest the time to understand deeply, because I think ultimately the priority of these two men is to entertain people, even though recently Hassan did an interview trying to take accountability for his misogyny. I don't think he so much took accountability as he kind of coped through the interview, but you can judge for yourself.
My blind spots, I'm a little bit too much of a dude, bro. So sometimes I'll pop off and I'll say something like, you know, can I curse on this show?
Yeah, sure.
Sometimes I'll say like, suck my and people don't really like that. You know what I mean? Especially if it's towards, again, a reactionary, but a reactionary woman nonetheless, right? That can come across as misogynistic. And I think there is a degree of that for sure.
I don't want to breeze past the misogyny question because I don't want people to feel like, oh, we just said that as an aside and moved on. There has been some, like I read I think, thoughtful discussion in Reddit from a woman who is a big fan of yours, but was saying, they get frustrated with feeling like they're outside. They're on the outside of the conversation, and that there's some particular things like, the way you talked about sexual assault, that they feel like is too dismissive. And I just wonder, do you take that feedback on?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That might be like one particular instance where I'm like offering commentary on an issue, but I try to be as careful and as thoughtful as possible, especially when it comes to things like that. But once again, like in that situation, my job is to talk to men that are so far beyond like where I'm at on these sorts of issues, right? Like my goal is to communicate to young men in a way that they understand, to just like pull them away from being not just dismissive necessarily, but just like reluctant to hear the other side's opinion.
To be transparent and clear, I'm not making a ton of money off my OnlyFans, but it was never about that anyways. It was always for the love of the game. So this isn't the exact math, but just to break it down, if I brought in $129,000 in 6 years, take away tax for a 1099 contract worker, which I am, and this is of course after OF takes their own cut, I still have to pay tax. So my take home is around $14,000 to $15,000 a year on OF, which is still really amazing money, and I'm never going to scoff at it. But it sounds a little silly to sit here and say this person who made $15,000 a year on OnlyFans is in any way comparable to a guy who makes $200,000 a month. So just for context, I need people to get into their minds that I know that Americans struggle to be embarrassed millionaires, but you're not even close to making as much as these people make. And it feels like, especially if I'm talking to people who watch a leftist like Hassan, you should know that. You should know not to be an embarrassed millionaire. But it does sometimes feel like Hassan fans are kind of Asmund fans, where I understand why Asmongold fans are all embarrassed millionaires because they think if Asmund can do it, so can I. But I don't understand why Hassan viewers are not understanding how rich he is in the scheme of things, and why that plays a role and why we are critical of him given his position of power. So the title of this video is You Should Do OnlyFans. Probably. But the truth is that you should do it for the love of the game. Probably. Same thing with my YouTube channel. For years, people have told me to quit, but the truth is I make more than the average person doing what I love and simply doing it for the love of the game. When I cover controversial topics over on my stream channel, I make $0 to maybe $6, and I don't care. At the end of the day, even though I'd love to make more money, I also want to be able to talk about what I want to talk about. Even though it's bad for my reputation under patriarchy to be naked on the internet, the truth is you don't get to control me or what I do with my body. The only people I'm willing to have conversations about in relation to my OF content are other sex positive sex worker people who have deconstructed patriarchy and are trying to create content and art in a way that is healthy and fulfilling for the people involved. I run a very strict program on my OF. I don't respond to DMs and I rarely chat with people. Maybe if they need something or they're looking for a particular video, sure. But generally, I keep it very open with boundaries. Because if I was a capitalistic, driven, money-driven OnlyFans model, sure, I would create parasocial relationships that made these men think they could have a chance with me.
So I'm trying to teach these women, and the women kept fucking it up. So what I did is I unplugged their keyboards from me behind the screen. And me and my brother would do all the talking. The girls were just pure, just famouser. I had these guys selling their houses, life savings. You'd have a guy.
Feel bad or no?
Fuck no.
But the truth is, I would be naked whether they paid me or not. And so me making some money off of content I was gonna make anyways feels fair. And I am grateful every day for those handful of people that do subscribe to my OnlyFans and support the work that I do. The same way I feel very grateful for the members on this YouTube channel or my stream channel who support me every day and allow me to make the art that I do. Now here's the thing, and the thing that I think is the most important. Would I recommend young people going into OnlyFans? Honestly, probably not if you're only looking for money, because you're probably not going to make it. And more than that, you are not going to be able to handle the scrutiny that society will throw your way because it is bigoted, patriarchal, and obsessed with condemning women and femmes from expressing themselves. I mean, we've seen with controversy after controversy, even when men are caught doing OnlyFans, the scrutiny is insane. And the question is, were these men even scrutinized simply for being naked on the internet? or also possibly for being gay. Patriarchy doesn't just condemn femme women, it also condemns femme men.
Some people will like argue that the only reason males will go like into their mask era is to like be more accepted or to just be more passing or do it for like other guys like
approval.
Like
straight guys approval.
No, just other like there's a whole community in the gay community of like masculine gay men.
Okay.
And they're very toxic too.
Shut up.
Very toxic.
Damn.
Like they're like in the gay world, they're like the superiors of like all the muscle gays are like the superior of the superiors. Like that's how they see it in their heads.
Damn, the patriarchy even lives in that community.
It's scary.
Let's wrap this up right quick here in a hurry. Just because you're gay does not mean you cannot or do not participate in the patriarchy. The patriarchy still exists, even if you're a gay man, because fun fact, you're still a man. Yes, gay men are not usually the ones throwing bricks at women or harassing them or assaulting them that way. But the reason a lot of gay men feel so comfortable calling women out of their name, calling her a bish when she's bossy, belittling her, talking about her outfit, talking about her body shaming, all that kind of stuff that is very prevalent in the queer community happens because of the patriarchy. The patriarchy, y'all did not get that organically. Not just that, but gay men are especially victims of the patriarchy. The reason that so many gay men are belittled or put down or told that they can't cry or put in these boxes is because of the same patriarchy. The same thing. Like, what's not clicking? But even if you get past all that, if you are not actively fighting against the patriarchy, you are a complicit bystander and are therefore upholding it.
Because femininity is the most disgusting thing to patriarchy, and at the same time, it's most prized possession. It's why we should be asking ourselves, should we be on OnlyFans? Should we be naked? Do men even deserve to see us naked? Does patriarchy even deserve our bodies? And yet, at the end of the day, when you separate yourself from that structure of oppression, we are naturally naked. We are naturally animals. There's something so beautiful and earthy and ethereal being naked and free. And yet, once again, patriarchy and capitalism want to take it from us. They want to destroy our relationship with our bodies, as does white supremacy, because do not get it twisted that white supremacy took us from our relationship with the earth and put us in suits and in cubicles. So you can try to come for me in the comments saying I'm a bad person because I make art on the internet. But the truth is, whether you like it or not, I am doing it in the most ethical and moral way possible. Andrew Tate said it himself. He took men's life savings from them while pretending to be women behind a screen. That was capitalism. That was patriarchy. That was white supremacy. That was exploitation. You will never see me doing that to people. I will never take your money just because I want it. And I deserve to be paid for my labor. I think sometimes people don't know the difference. Same thing with capitalism. You selling your labor or you engaging in art and making money off of it doesn't make you a capitalist. You can engage in flavors of capitalism by the way you distribute that art and engage in selling that art, but I'm doing my best not to do that.
One of the worst arguments I see people say is, but OF girls make money off of men that have families and wives. I have, and every woman has, men with families and wives come up to them in the street and say some gross ass shit in their DMs. I would like to get paid for it at least. Okay, I don't think that people in the industry are the problem. I think that would be the men that have the family and wife, and maybe they should respect their family and wife more. Also, people don't outright just go on there and be like, I have a family and wife, by the way. So, we're not going out of our way to do that, but it's gonna happen either way because that's how they are.
So my advice is for anyone who wants to do OnlyFans, you better do it for the love of the game. Because the truth is you're not going to get the reward you think you're going to get, especially if you're only doing it for money. A lot of those people who say they make a lot of money doing OF, they're lying to you. Yeah, the top earners might be making it, but you're not going to be the LeBron of OnlyFans. And honestly, for a lot of people, even when it comes to streaming or YouTube, they don't understand why you would do it for less than $1 million. But the truth is, a lot of middle-class YouTubers exist. We make anywhere from 30 to 70K, and we're really happy. But a lot of people think we're losers all the same because we're not making enough money. I want to jump in here and just remind you that I am in that range, and I'm very happy with that range, and I do want to express gratitude for being in that range. And I also want to say that OF is completely part-time. I mean, I'm not even currently making updated shoots because I'm on a hiatus, but I want you to understand that my dedication and primary job is YouTube. And that's because I'm not trying to look cute every day. And it takes a lot of effort to make art every day. It takes a lot of effort to put that much work into costuming and design. And so it is no joke. And so I just want you to keep that in mind as well, that the things that I'm sharing with you are from somebody who does it part-time. And still, I want to just express gratitude all the same. So when you become a creative, you are deliberately fighting capitalism. When you find a way to ethically make content in a way that is about harm reduction and not perfection, yeah, you will take a hit for it. The truth is that people might accuse me of trying to start stuff with YouTubers, but every opportunity I've ever had to start beef, I squashed it, or I didn't engage, or I disconnected. I want to share my opinions and be clear about what I think. And I don't want to fight you on the internet. We're adults. It's embarrassing. I don't want to have beef with YouTubers. But I'm also not going to shy away from my opinions that are strong. And they're rooted in my values, so I'm very passionate. So you can sit here and scrutinize whether or not Bert Simon is jealous of these boys on the internet. Or you could see it for what it is. Me attempting to encourage people to think differently about the way they engage in life in general, from relationships to jobs to even being on the internet. Whether we like it or not, a lot of the most successful streamers are absolutely engaging in unethical behavior in order to maintain their prominence and status. A lot of them are exploiting people for money. They're exploiting your vulnerabilities. You want to talk about parasocial relationships? Look at all the thirst traps you guys make of your favorite political streamers. Look at the way they absolutely exploit your parasocial relationships every fucking day, more than even OnlyFans girls do. It's interesting that when a boy does it and he's political, he's a hero, but when a girl does it because she's creating art, it's exploitation.
We love women. We love their boobs, their butts. Oh, there's actually a beautiful woman right there. Where? Whore. Slut. New watch, new car. Aren't those things all just to impress other men? No, girls like that. Yeah, I actually met my girlfriend at the club. Oh, so why are you upset if she's going to the club then? Because why is she at the club? I mean, yeah, I'm into women, but like men are at the top, you know. Wait, so are you into men then if you praise them so much? No, I like women.
So again, you can try to come into my comment section and criticize me for being a girl who's trying to do what these boys are doing, but the proof is in the pudding. I am not. Because if I was, I would be up there with them. But I make decisions every day not to do that. And I think if you're going to be on the internet, whether it's as a streamer, an OnlyFans girl, or whatever else, you should seriously think about your values, because you will be tempted every day. You will get sponsorships, opportunities. You will have YouTubers reaching out in DMs. You have to learn to say no to these opportunities. I can't tell you how many podcasts I've rejected, how many people I've said no to, how many people I've just ignored the DM straight up because I'm like, I'm not getting involved in that. YouTube's algorithm makes it so 95% of the people who watch us on the regular aren't even people who know us. The truth is most people find the videos I make because you want to hate today, or I talk about your favorites in the thumbnail and you feel a need to defend them. You accuse me of engaging in OnlyFans through a parasocial lens, but why'd you click on this video in the first place? The truth is that you're upset with me for existing in a happy and joyful body and in a happy and joyful way because it doesn't fit your narrative. A lot of the people who make nude art are making actual art. I look forward to making more of it, and I look forward to making more of it as I age and wrinkle and sag, because I think the world deserves to see the body sexually, neutrally, indifferent. It deserves to see it old and feeble. It deserves to see it wrinkled, strong, muscular. It deserves to see it in all of its facets, because we're here temporarily in these little things. And yet these little things are so powerful that sometimes, right? You'll spend $2 in a comment section yelling about it existing. These things are so amazing. They get us through life. They help us hug our children, exist at jobs. This thing is so powerful. You know what I mean? This body of ours. So I look at nudity as sort of an embracing of this thing that we take for granted every day. No matter the way that it presents in the world, we take it for granted every day. And so you might sit here and think like, oh, she's trying to give us a speech about, you know, oh, the body is sacred just so she can get naked on the internet. Maybe. Or maybe I just did all the work I needed to do to deconstruct away from feeling ashamed of my body. When I was younger and in my 20s, I was, you know, finally out of my parents' house, away from religiosity. I was moving into liberalism, hanging out with progressive people in Seattle. And I remember being at a dungeon, a BDSM dungeon, because that's where I found a lot of amazing people. I learned about consent and STI testing. I learned about negotiation. I learned so many good things from BDSM dungeons. Underground communities are the best communities. They're the safest communities. They negotiate the best. And yeah, sure, there are problems, but trust me, they're a lot safer than normal people bubbles, right? I was sitting there with a man who had just gotten surgery because of cancer, and he was feeling really ashamed of the scar in his body. And I said to him, you know, I'm feeling pretty embarrassed about my body. What if we got naked and walked around the room? And he said, oh yeah, that'd be great. Can we do that? So we both took off our clothes and took a stroll around the dungeon very like awkwardly. And then we like hurried back and put on our clothes and went like, phew. And that was the first step that I needed to take to eventually feel very comfortable in my skin. Everything that I do is an attempt to challenge the way that I was raised, to unlearn all of the shame that I was given from the point, like from the beginning of my life, from the moment I was young enough to recognize that I existed in a body that would be objectified, all the way until now. Sure, are there plenty of OnlyFans models that are just engaging in capitalism and parasocial relationships and toxicity? Sure. But I'm not one of them, and I think most of them wouldn't be either if they weren't trying to survive in capitalism. But I think like boys who start MLMs or girls who start OnlyFans and sort of like lie their way to the top, everyone is still just surviving under capitalism. We saw that in the Manosphere documentary with Tiki Taki, who literally said if I was a good person, I wouldn't be successful.
Why not try and be a good person?
If I'd just done good things, I would never have really blown up on social media in the first place.
What good is your success if you're not a good person, though? And yeah, I've managed to do it. I've managed to be a good person and make a livable wage. And I'm very proud of that. And I think everybody could do that. But it's not just about starting an OF. It's just about doing it for the love of the game first and foremost, and the money will follow. Yes, you can't turn all of your hobbies into a job, but sometimes if you're lucky, you can. And I was lucky on two fronts. I make my primary income doing YouTube, which is amazing. I get to talk about philosophy and people all day, which is my dream. And part-time, I make some money on the side making nude art or making art that's considered 18 plus. And I'm very, very grateful for that every day. It really is a dream come true. I'm not going to have somebody in my comment sections look at the dream that I created, this dream that makes me feel so free, and talk to me like I'm the unethical one, and then put a ultimatum down that if I don't address this in my next video, you're going to unsubscribe. It's okay. You won't have to. I'm going to block you. So you won't be able to comment and you won't need to watch my videos. But thank you for the $2 super chat, and I hope you have a good day.